So, good old George Washington. Old George Washington. More like Georgina. Okay, when it comes to taking his hair and the way he would just... The way that he would just primp and polish his hair to where it's just ever so perfect. I mean, he didn't have a wig, so that's a good thing, right? And he used to wear silk stockings, right? So his calves are nice and pretty. But he used to powder his hair. He would put powder on his hair and he would curl his hair. He would curl his hair on the sides. He'd pull his hair back into a rat tail. He would show his forehead. Because back then his forehead was in vogue. It was very cool. It's like, man, look at that prominent forehead. That forehead looks really good. I think they got a lot of this from the French aristocracy. So George's hair was actually reddish brown, and Georgie would actually put his hair the way he would do his hair, right? Pulled it into that rat tail, and then he would fluff out his sides, his hair in a ponytail, and he would have, you know, rat tail, ponytail, whatever you want to put it, whatever you want to call it, and he would put a bow in it. He'd put a nice little bow in it, right? To be tough. He wanted to be tough. He did that to look tough. That was a good tough Spartan warrior look. Look at him. His hair's all pretty. That's a tough motherfucker right there. So the way he would actually get the powdering done is that it was a chore, okay? His morning routine to get his hair all did, it took some time. So he would throw on this powdering robe to protect his clothes, and then he had like a cone that protected his face, and then he would dip a puff made of silk strips into his powder of choice, which I don't even know where this powder's coming from. Baby powder, maybe, I don't know. And then he would bend his head over. However, I don't know, his face is protected, his arms and everything's protected, and then he would shake the puff out all over his scalp into a big cloud. So that's the father of, you know, America. That was the father of this nation, and that's how he did his hair. That's something that, right, I mean, you see that all over the place today. It's something you and me, we all could relate to something like this, right? I just woke up like this, and I did spray some hairspray, right? So sometimes, on occasion, he would use, I mean, this is a lot of effort, so put a cone on his face, and had that powder robe. He had this powder robe that was covering his entire body. He would actually use one of his slaves, and he was big into slavery. He had slaves his entire life. He only freed Billy Lee, his best friend, actually, and he only freed him outright. He was the only one that got freed outright, and the other ones were, that's not counting the ones that died in his custody. So for 50 years, you know, since he was 10 years old, he died at 67, so for 57 years, he was beaten, whipping, probably, maybe raping. I mean, look at Martha. Ah! Is that... I wouldn't want to stick your dick in there. I wouldn't fuck her with your dick. And so one of his slaves, he had 123 of his own. He was leasing 40, right? Because you could rent other people's slaves out. And then she had, you know, like a shit ton. They had like 318 total. So out of his 318 total, maybe Hercules, Oni Judge, Deborah, or Harvey Squash. These are the ones that we actually know. So 318 out of 318, we know 5 of them. 5 of them actually got written in the history books. The rest are whitewashed out of history. So, you know, that's fucking disgusting, actually. But, so maybe it was Hercules, Oni Judge, Deborah Squash, or Harvey Squash, or Billy Lee, his best friend. They would help him, and they would bunch the slack his hair into a black silk bag in the nape of his neck, and then with that bag, it would be covered, and then once that bag was covered, then he would take, he didn't want to put pomade, and he didn't want to put, like, you know, the stuff that he's going to use the sides of his hair to get in the back of his hair. He just wanted on the sides. So he put this black silk bag, and then, so his slaves are helping him. His slaves probably did the whole thing, right? Probably put the robe over him, probably put the cone over his face, and then probably powdered his hair himself. and it was a puff made of silk strips. So, I mean, this is like, people will say, oh, back in the day they did that shit. Back in the day they had silk fucking puffs, and powder. Like, I'm thinking, like, what the fuck is baby powder even made of? Like, where do you get powder? Like, just rocks? You just take gravel and you rub them together till you have like a dust? Okay, so the slaves would help him on occasion. He would just do this because if he was going out to like some formal thing, he really wanted to put his sides out. So when he got his portrait painted, or when they, you know, drew his face, this would have been something that he would have done. So, you know, one thing was powder in his hair, but the other thing is to get them curls, right? To get those curls, and that was his actual hair. And he would fluff the hair on each side, right? Fluff the hair to make wings, and then he would secure the look with pomade. So they even had pomade then too, or good old natural oils. So that's how George Washington would do his hair, right? Just like you, just like every common American today, right? Wearing the powdered hair look with the rat tail to show off your cool ass fucking forehead because it was in vogue, right? It's fucking badass. Look at this forehead, man. That's a prominent forehead right there, you know. I'm not going out. I can't go out today. No, my forehead isn't, it's not working, okay? My forehead isn't working. And then he did all this. It looks like to look pretty, right? Georgina, he's looking pretty. But it was actually to look tough. So, you know, he did all that, the rat tail, pulled his hair back, and then he would fluff his wings off to the side. Fluff, fluff, fluff. All pretty, pretty, pretty. Oh, Georgie, you so pretty. You so pretty, Georgie. Look at you. Looking all pretty. I swear to God, you're just the cutest little thing. Like a goddamn button you are. Cute. What? Oh, you're not going for cute? Oh, my bad. You're tough. That's a tough. George Washington's a tough man. Look at him. Look at him with this pretty ass hair. That's the markings of a tough guy. Would you some sort of tough guy? Oh, you are a tough guy. Oh, okay. I can tell by your pretty wings, your pomaded out curled hair on the sides, and your pretty powdered white hair with a ponytail with a bow on it. Make sure, don't forget the bow. Okay, you need the bow. That's tough. And your forehead prominently displayed. Damn, man. You one tough motherfucker. You tough, George. You tough.